Crypto market is now showing a bumpy road. It is slowing down a bit with the news, the narrative, everything. Bitcoin is actually trying to break this level, and if it does, that would not be looking great. And this is one of the reasons why in yesterday's video we extensively detailed about this possibility in XRP. And right now, if you watch, that is playing out. And if you look at like 3 days before, 6 days before, I've actually informed the SI family about this. Take profits and step out. If you are in short-term trades, that would be the most positive thing to do, because the crypto market was showing this possibility in which most of the alts were to correct back down before a positive bounce. Now, the way the RSI is still looking, it's okay, but you need to understand the fact that Bitcoin broke this level. It came to this support, and it is at that particular support right now. Why is that important? Weekly candle is about to close in 3 days. And if you look at this scenario, short term, if you break that level, weekly, you have a trend line support here around 26,500. But after that, it's going to be danger. Why? Because if you break this trend line, now you have concerns. Now the price can come back down. But I really don't think this time we would be looking for 21 levels, because there is a lot of market interest in this range of 24 to 26. So one thing I'm looking at is close to 27. And if that doesn't hold, that trend line doesn't hold, now yeah, there is a possibility that we may see a touch of 24, 25. But what's more interesting with the altcoin side of things, especially with XRP, if you look at it on a daily, you do see that it's breaking. If you look at the same on the weekly, you do get to see things are evolving, and the indicators does tell us a story. Looking at XRP, looking at XLM, looking at the Bitcoin dominance, looking at the total market cap, altcoin side of things, and then excluding Bitcoin and Ether, the story kind of gets a little bit clearer, right? So we're going to break that down here right now. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. I have a little bit of fear, so if the sound is breaking here and there, and if the words are a little bit not clear, forgive me on this one. But I thought today's video is actually important because the price action is actually doing as we talked. And if that gets a daily close somewhere here, that doesn't look good. So what are the possibilities, right? You go on looking at the daily chart for XRP, and you just saw that the daily just closed there. Daily close on XRP showing us the fact that this particular trend line is now breaking to the downside. What does that mean? We are now looking at the major support levels after this break. Because if you actually remove the macro narrative from this and try to understand the micro narrative, it's better to look for the micro targets first, right? You go on a 4-hour chart. On the 4-hour chart, it kind of gives you the idea that we are trending lower. This was a pattern. We didn't have a fake out, but we were overall remained inside this particular pattern, which is positive. Now, if you actually take that trend line and say, okay, this was a trend line we were playing out, now we are breaking through, that means now there is some potential downside, right? If you're actually connecting these and saying, okay, the pattern just broke to the downside, and I think the price can actually go down towards 20%. Now, what does that 20% downside mean in terms of price? Say you are taking that measured move from there and plotting it all the way down towards, say, 0.37. Now, remember that number, 0.37, and go on the longer time horizon, say a daily chart, a weekly chart, and see where does that actually come in, because that now becomes even more important. If you actually draw this trend line and put that measured move, the 0.37 mark comes close to this trend line. And I'm like, that's beautiful. Why? You go on a weekly and look at what the price action is actually showing us. It is kind of clear, in my opinion, that if you look at the RSI, it's showing us that it is clear that you take this part of support range, and if that breaks to the downside, price action is going to come down. But Let me remind you this. This trend line is what the price followed when XRP RSI followed this trend line. So even when the trend line in the RSI is breaking and we are just coming to down to this support, that's a macro divergence. Meaning the RSI is showing you that it is reducing strength, but even at that level of strength, buyers are holding on to this level. That would be the story. Now, that will be true if we hold on to that particular level. If not, this range is going to be the support. That is going to be painful. 0.31 doesn't look a positive scenario, right? From where we are right now and what we were thinking about the future, that wouldn't actually look good. But we do understand that 0.3 has been a long-term support resistance zone going back all the way to like 2017. But right now, we do have minor supports in between. 0.41 is going to be a key level of support. And if we break that 0.41, now you have a concern of a double top. So your measured move for that double top now becomes like 25%. That's concerning. So if you actually happen to break that on a weekly and take the measured move, that takes you all the way down towards 31. So these are the two possibilities. One on the weekly and another one on the daily chart, right? So it kind of gives you an idea like, okay, there is something wrong. And if you guys remember it correctly, when I told you that I think this is the scenario playing out where I used a chart excluding alts chart but excluding ether, that means if the altcoin market excluding ether drops like this, that means XRP should play a major role. Because if XRP is not dropping, this chart won't drop because XRP is one of the big caps in this particular chart. Now, take that idea into the thought process of the Bitcoin dominance side of things. Right now, what's happening? The Bitcoin dominance is slowly trying to push higher, but it is not getting a lot of momentum. Agreed, but we're still holding on to this. The narrative is clear. On the short term, we are forming a negative pattern for sure. Rising wedges are negative. Usually that breaks to the downside. And when that breaks to the downside, that's what we are interested in. Meaning right now, if it actually fakes out to the upside, say even if it actually comes somewhere close to 51.90, say 52, and then come back down, that is what I believe will create a downside, short-term downside, a market flush in the altcoins, and then this drop here would create a bounce, and that bounce I believe is going to be a major bounce off. Why? Say this is XLM. Now we stand on XRP so much, some of you may think like we are not actually following other assets, but it's not true. When you actually look at the Patreon, you'll see literally we are following almost every asset in this market class and giving you guys the thought process, which turns out to be true. Because if you remember, a few days back, we went through a market test. I personally went on trading, short-term micro trades. These are, painful. And I was giving you guys the thought process, okay, there is a lot of fake outs in the market. And I strongly believe it's better to stay out now. We may do further test. Now, trading with $100 with a 5x leverage is not risky. You are testing the market. And yeah, we ended up in profit. That's a different story. Around 80% of profit is decent. But the market was showing a lot of fake outs, just like what we showed here in the example. Now, if you take that into the price action right now, where are we? Right? The market is showing you XLM is getting rejected. This has been a strong support for the time being, and it shows you may come down to the trend line support. Where does that equate? That is around 0.08, say 0.079, somewhere close to that. Now, is that a huge drop? No, considering where we came from and considering what we are doing right now, I don't think it's a huge drop. One thing which can go wrong in these calculations would be Binance Coin. If you remember, I gave you guys this alert saying as soon as, no, that alert was somewhere close to $300 in BNB, saying I'm concerned about this asset. If this asset drops, it's going to be painful for the market. Right now on the weekly, it doesn't look good for me. Let me be frank here. Once you look at this asset on a weekly and you see the price breaking through to 30 and breaking to 20, that's not going to be great. It's going to create some level of panic. it would actually see like, okay, CC Binance is having some issue. The DOJ is actually fighting with them. The narrative, the news will actually push in a lot of fear. This is especially what I talked in last couple of videos. I think it's last video where I told, when this guy is saying tomorrow is better than today, I'm afraid for tomorrow. And we are watching the price action correcting lower. This is what actually happens when people start hyping this up. The market actually works like that. It doesn't make sense. But the whales, the manipulators, they use us in a different way. They just understand the macro narrative is this. And if we are not following the macro narrative and we are only looking at the micro moves here, we would miss these macro perspective, because BNB breaking the level of 220, 200, it's going to create some level of pain. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I still remember the statement which I made to the SI family when we were around 300, 330 somewhere, saying, okay, if this breaks, the market is going to go lower, have dry powder, you're going to get huge opportunity. Because believe this, in this market, you have strong projects, fundamentally strong, superb projects. But when the market drops in a panic, no one cares about the fundamentals. People start to run out. So the price drops, and that's where you actually get undervalued asset. But now you can actually ask, Danny, what do you mean by that? All of the assets are now undervalued. I agree. Undervalued doesn't mean it's going to go up tomorrow, and it can still get even more undervalued. And that's where averaging down becomes so important. Last time when I averaged down in the market, we were at one level of support. And I gave you my thought process saying, okay, it's because we were respecting this support and was trying to bounce on a weekly, I averaged down. I agreed, the market broke lower. But if you remember this, we had trades and we were averaging it clearly. And those averages are now giving us crystal clear picture that it's working. And we had some of these buys at the bottom here. Now, if it actually happens to come down or wick even lower to this point, we will be averaging down on few assets, selected assets as a group. And if you are looking for that kind of updates, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. And if you believe this video is helping you, this channel is giving you value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. That supports the channel a lot. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.